Hey, how you doing this morning? It's not
Good to
morning
see
there.
you.
Hey there.
Sorry,
Can you hear me okay?
I hear you okay.
Yeah.
In a moment, we'll
Uh,
be going live on YouTube as we always do. Just one second. And we'll say hello to everybody. Yeah, I think we're okay here. It's always hard to tell. Yeah, I think that's okay. So we'll stop there and say hello again to my good friend, Pastor Richard Booker, Dr. Richard Booker. How
Shalom
are you?
from Texas.
How's it going? How's the weather out there?
Today is beautiful. We've made it through another Texas summer, thank God. They're challenging, but I think we've had to mow our property maybe one more time. So
Wow.
that's always a big test because when you have the acreage, it's so all consuming of your time to keep it under control, or it gets out of control. You have to keep mowing it all the time. So anyway, once you can get past summer and you don't have to be mowing, you have time to do other things that are a little more relaxing. So, but we are enjoying the beauty of God's hummingbirds right now
Beautiful.
because this is the time of season when they're going down to Mexico. It's amazing. These little birds can fly over the, shall we say, Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico without stopping, a little bitty bird. So they come in this area and they fill up with the nectar to get as much energy as they can
Amazing.
for their flight. So it's amazing how God put this in his creatures. So our hummingbirds, it's such a joy to watch a simple pleasure when the world is going crazy, to see everything except humans are doing what God called them to do, So they are in a way mirroring what's going on in Israel today. They're actually fighting for their life because they've got to get this nectar or they can't make it. So you have 20 or 30 of them, very territorial. That's a good
Wow.
word right now, territorial, fighting for a spot on the feeder. So,
Wait a second. These are feeders that you prepare?
oh yeah, hummingbird feeders. Yeah, you just fill them up with nectar and it's sugar and water. It's sugar water, is what it is, sugar water. Now you can buy it at the store, but it's not good for them what they have in the store.
Really?
So you
It's
just
it's marketed especially for this, but it's not good.
That's true. That's true. So Peggy just makes sugar water and you put it in the feeder and you have to refill it. Right now, we have two big feeders and you have to refill it every day because this is their peak time to try to get their fuel for the trip they're taking. So with a world that's out of whack without God, it's a simple pleasure that we're enjoying.
It sounds like if you had 10 feeders, you'd have to refill them every day.
I think so. So they're right there on your porch, so they don't pay attention to you. Now, if you had one in your hand, they would come and take it. They would drink out of your hand, actually.
Fascinating.
It is fascinating to watch them. And of course, as it is in the human world, there are bullies who don't want anyone to drink but them. So they try to fight off the others. And after a while, there's so many they can't fight them off. So they lose their own spot. And I think that's God's justice. So if you try to hurt other people, eventually you will lose your own spot.
Yeah, we should learn from that.
That's a good lesson to learn. So tell me what's happening. We're keeping up all the time with the situation there, and it's I'm glad we have a book that tells us how it all ends up.
Yeah, without that book, I don't understand how anybody can keep on going.
Well, we are certainly in agreement with that. And, in many ways, they don't keep on going. They find some kind of way to find peace with themselves and the world, and they get distracted looking in the wrong places, and
Yeah.
they kind of self-destruct themselves, trying
Well,
to make some sense out of their life and their world. And so,
the problem is that the day before they self-destruct, they still think they're going strong. So you can't really say that, oh yeah, if everybody would just follow this, then everybody would be great because there's so many people saying, no, I think I'd rather do it myself. I'll figure this out myself.
well, Yeshua made a statement. It's the first part of it is the reality of life. He says, "In this world you will have tribulation," but the B part, he said, "Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world." So those of us who follow him can have a peace in our heart, even though there's turmoil all around us.
Hmm.
Oh, this is how we live our lives.
Amen. Um, well, I have two things on my heart, and I'm wondering which or both to share with you. Well, I can't not mention because you're going to find out soon enough. We're recording this today on September 8th. And tragically, this morning in Israel, there was a very horrific terror attack.
I saw that yes, I saw that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was in Jerusalem. In Jerusalem, two terrorists opened fire on a bus stop with dozens of people were standing at the bus stop. I saw a video of them all running away. And as of this, as of now, right now, or maybe even an hour ago, I haven't looked at the news. Already, six people have been declared dead from that terror attack.
I'm so sorry, and that seems so inadequate to say I'm sorry, but
Of course.
uh,
But
we
people feel that
understand.
they have to, you have to connect to that kind of thing. And besides, as I was just saying to a friend of mine, besides the personal tragedy, the horrific tragedy for the families of these killed and injured, and really all of Israel is one big family.
I understand.
But the big thing is now Israel is like is ever since the 7th of October, Israel is like a wounded animal in that we're not going to behave calmly. And if we get attacked, we're going to strike out. And that's the way it's been. And that's the way Israel, that's what the majority of people in Israel want. And especially that we have President Trump and his cabinet in power in the largest, the only superpower in the world. And we see, again, from our perspective, nobody can tell what really is going on because all we see is what we see that the leadership in Europe, I'm not talking about the non-West, but the rest of the West is Europe, and they have been overtaken by, it seems they've been overtaken by Muslim extremists as well. So it's hard to take their wishes seriously. When out of 190, I don't know how many countries in the United Nations, 188 vote against Israel, and the only ones that vote for Israel are Israel and the United States.
I'm glad I'm living in the United States right now.
Mamash, really.
But of
But
course, the leaders in Washington change all the time, every few
it's
years.
also true. So you have to keep on praying and have to be grateful for the people who God has put into their heart, and they follow their hearts to try to pursue leadership positions, both in federal and state, and even city, because it's all connected, politics, and also in civil service. Most people in America, I'm not talking about the pastors, but most people in America, they're trying to make enough money so they can buy a nice house and have a nice big lawn that they have to mow all the time.
That's
But
that's
uh,
that's
but
just
but
that's true. This is the American dream, and
but we have to be grateful for the people who have their head, pardon the expression, screwed on properly, that they say no. We say in Judaism there is a phrase, "B'makom she'ein anashim hishtadel liot ish," where there is no man, strive to be a man, and that means to take up positions of leadership and responsibility, even where everybody else would say, "No, what are you crazy? Are you going into politics? You going?" But thankfully, we have a nice, strong conservative leader in Washington with a very strong cabinet and a lot of more strong leaders who are who feel more confident holding those positions because that is we call it in Hebrew, in Israel, the Ruach HaMefaked, the spirit of the commander is coming down. So right now, we in Israel feel very confident because of the support that we have from our friends in the United States and specifically in Washington, not to mention all the other countries where governors are passing pro-Israel laws and passing laws in the states that you have to use the term Judea and Samaria and not the West Bank, all kind of things like that. That's obviously a little thing comparatively. So we think that again, it's hard to say what we think when the blood is not even dried yet or not even cleaned up yet. But we think that there's going to be a very strong response against this in Judea, specifically in the areas around Jerusalem, because we're already starting to clean up in the northern Samaria, and it's going to be, and only good is going to come from this, I believe. Listen, when you have over 1,000 people killed on October 7th, and over 1,000, not over 1,000, but close to 1,000 people since then. So every murdered, every killed Israeli is a world unto itself. Really, it's crazy. But we hope that they will not have fallen in vain. You know, when before the state of Israel was founded and people were killed in terror, even then, over 80 years ago. But ultimately, you have entire cities named after people who were killed. And so their lives were not lost in vain. That's what I have to pray for.
And thank you so much for sharing that. I saw Alan Derkowitz on TV the other
Yes.
day, who's had some remarkable turnarounds in some of his views the last few years, but he said something that almost brought tears to my eyes, knowing our unfortunate Judeo-Christian history. He was talking about the Iron Dome and what a great thing
Um,
it was, but he went on to say the real, I'm sorry, the real Iron Dome are the Christians praying for Israel.
wow.
I was shocked. I was literally shocked when I heard him say that. But it's true because there are millions of Christians who are intercessors who pray 24/7 for Israel and the Jewish people around the world. And they do that quietly. They don't care to have any recognition. They're just doing what God has put in their hearts. So when you have that, it doesn't mean you don't have trouble and tribulation. It just means that in the end, God and good will win.
Amen.
So it's a challenge along the way. Life is hard. We look at the life story of Job, of course, in the Bible. He had his he really had it tough. God bless him, you know. All the things happened to him, but he stayed true. He stayed true, and God vindicated him in the end. But God gives a free will for humans, but he has a red line, and he won't let human beings cross his red line, and that's the hope that we have.
Amen. Well,
So I'm sorry about that. I know Peggy and I, we were there 30 years, you know, tours, and when we were there one time, when bus number 18, this was about the late 80s, I think. Bus number 18 was blown up, and we were at the hotel there at the Binyan It
yes, I
it
know.
changes names all the time.
Yes.
But in the night, it was dark, maybe 3 or 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning. We heard the sirens because the bus station is right there by.
Right. Wow.
And we thought this can't be good. So we saw what happened, and then the next day, uh, the terrorists ran over people at a bus stop nearby the Hyatt there, and then they blew up something in Tel Aviv. I don't remember exactly. So our response was the only thing we could do. Uh, we stayed over from our tour.
Wow.
So the only thing we could do was to show support by riding the public buses. So that's what we
Wow.
did.
That's brave of you. It's true.
So, well, I don't know about that. We just we're determined that this is who we are, and you know, this is what we're going to be doing.
We have no choice because that's why it's called terror. It terrorizes you. And if you submit and surrender to terror, what does surrender mean? It means you withdraw. So if you withdraw, they're going to chase after you. So everybody has to recognize that I have to hold my ground.
Very true. Very true. So anyway, may God comfort all those who mourn in Zion.
Amen. I'd like to share with you another topic, sir, if I may. I'm very excited now in Root Source to initiate the new project. We've barely launched it. We're really in stealth mode. So if anybody is watching this, then they can contact me if they're interested. But right now, it's still a little bit premature, but I'll tell you anyway. I might have told you in the past that a few months ago I was introduced to an Orthodox, ultra Orthodox rabbi in Mea Shearim who is a good friend of pro-Israel Christians.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. There's an organization called Christian Friends of Israel, very fitting name. They have a newsletter, and they sent out a newsletter, and I saw they featured like a 5-second video with this very old ultra-Orthodox rabbi saying, "Thank you, Christian Friends of Israel," something like that. So I said, "What is this? Is this AI or something like that?" He wasn't dressed the part. So I reached out and I asked for his name and phone number and address, and I finally got through to him. I went to visit him, 94 years old. And most of the time I talked about how he made Aliyah, how he lived in Mea Shearim. It was very exciting. But of course, he also was a Holocaust survivor. So my friend, I don't know if you know or know of her, Sharon Sanders, who was the leader of Christian Friends of Israel, she didn't know this rabbi, and she wanted to meet him. So I asked him if I could bring her over the next time, and he said, "Sure, no problem. You know, when you're 94 years old, you do whatever you want." And then she started asking questions, and I would translate them because he doesn't know English and she doesn't know Hebrew. And then he would answer, and I would translate, and back and forth. After 3 or 4 questions, he said, "Listen, I can keep on answering your questions, or I could just give you a copy of my autobiography that I wrote about 10 years ago." So he pulls out from a drawer in his living room this book. It's a typewritten, photocopied 30-page autobiography that he wrote 10 years ago in Hebrew. I said, no. That is not a book. First of all, it's in Hebrew. That's not going to help Sharon. And second of all, you know, I've published about 24 books already. I know how to publish a book. So I said, "Listen, I'm going to raise the money to cover the cost of translating, formatting, editing, and publishing this book. And it's going to be in English for Sharon and all of her friends, if that's okay with you, Rabbi Dermer. He said, okay. So that's what we did. It took a few months, but here is the book. We haven't finished it yet, but this is the author's proof.
Through faith and
Faith
fire.
and
There you
Fire,
go.
the story of Rabbi Eliyahu, life story of Rabbi Eliyahu Dermer.
Beautiful. Congratulations. Mazel tov. Looks
Oh,
nice.
very nice pictures at the back. But wait a second. I said, listen, this is one story. There are over 100,000 Holocaust survivors in Israel,
Sure.
and most of them have never published their story. And those who have published their story, maybe they've published it in Hebrew. And a lot of them have not published the story, but just recorded something on video. And a video is a file. You don't store a video on your bookshelf. So I said, I am going to step up and do an ambitious project. I am going to find 100 people, churches, ministries, schools, whatever, each one that has in their heart to adopt a Holocaust survivor and his or her story. And so that has never been published before in English. And I am going to publish, Root Source Press is going to publish 100 Holocaust survivor stories in books like this. So we're going to have 100 of these.
Very good. Very good.
Now, for example, have you heard of Tova Feldman up in Dallas?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Anyway,
We work with
so
so many people.
you've been to so many people. So really what I'm looking for you, Richard, is for you to pray and help me. One is if you know any Holocaust survivors that didn't really publish their story, whether they're alive or not, but their story is available for me to publish, then I'm willing to look into being able to publish that story. That's in America, of course. In Israel, if you know anybody in Israel, then of course I'm willing to try to find them in their story and to translate it, because mostly that's what I want to do. Obviously, if a story has already been written but has never been published, then that's the easiest for me. But if a story has already been written, even if it has or hasn't been published seriously, and I can translate, here's another Holocaust survivor that he's already recently published his story, but only in Hebrew. It's 300 pages long. If I can and I've already met with this gentleman and his family, and hopefully I'm going to be publishing this book as well. Because it's very nice that it appears in Hebrew. If it's not in English, people will never know that story if they don't know Hebrew. Not to mention that I have some followers in Netherlands and Germany, and they want to translate the story into the Czech language, into German, into all sorts of stories, into
So
Dutch.
are these 100 different books or one book with 100 different stories?
100 different books.
Oh my goodness. I don't
Each
know.
story, each story will cost about $7,000, which we're looking for groups. In other words, one person, $7,000. Most people don't have that kind of money just sitting around waiting for something. But first of all, you can pay it off over 3 years. And so 3 years, 7,000 divided by 36 months is only $200. So if you have 20 people, each one can commit to $10 a month. And then you've adopted a Holocaust survivor and their story.
That's beautiful. We had a Crystal Knot Memorial every year for 18 years.
Right.
Some of the people publish their stories in books. We have a few of them somewhere around here.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them, Steven Spielberg put them on his video presentations.
Yeah, right.
Some of them are on his presentation. Some of them passed on without writing down anything because,
How tragic that is.
yeah, I know. And
Well, unfortunately, I'm getting this idea only today and not 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
I know.
But
Yeah,
I can't turn back the clock.
I think that for me, just hearing that from a standpoint of marketing and people's time and all that, I think you could be more successful if you had one book with 100 stories. People just can't read 100 books, you know. But if you had one with 100 stories, each one 10 pages summary or something, I think you'd do better with
It would
that.
be
But
1,000 pages.
well, you have a couple of volumes.
I'm definitely considering thinking to doing that. We'll see what happens. But I definitely want, from a marketing perspective, you're right. But imagine that I find a class, a high school class, eighth grade, and I say, listen, you're 30 in your class. Each student in the classroom has to go out and knock on doors, their parents, their uncles, and raise $200 or $300. It's not a lot of money to raise. And then it will be written in the book. This book is dedicated by Mrs. Smith's eighth grade class in Houston Public School 204 in
I under-
2026.
I understand how it works. I'm just thinking from my standpoint of writing 50 books or so and knowing the American culture, maybe a 3 volume series or something, or it doesn't matter how.
I'm not saying no. I'm saying yes.
I'm just trying to think if you could, 100 people. So let's just think about that a minute. 100 people. If so, if you had 25 or 20 stories, and each one was 10 pages long, 10 times 20, that's only 200 pages. People would read that. And if you had 3 or 4 volumes or something like that,
Right.
I think you could find a better acceptance of something like that than 100 books. It's too much for people to take in. That's just my observations.
I certainly agree with you. I don't think that most people will read all 100.
Well, I mean, just the thought of it is just overwhelming. But a 3 or 4 volume series of 20 Holocaust survivors, 10 pages each, giving the core idea of their life. Something is better than nothing, my friend.
I hear what you're saying, and thank you extremely for that idea. And again, I'm going to do that. I don't know if it'll be 4 books of 25 stories or one book of 100 stories, 3 pages each or something like that. But I am definitely going to summarize all of these stories. Today that's not that's I have people and robots that can help me to do that editing. But I'm not going to give up the opportunity for because again, to read the books, that's definitely important. But to write the books, to actually say I'm one of the 20 people who or 100 people that donated towards the publishing of this one person's story. And therefore I am part of that. I won't be able to raise I don't know, $70,000 for one book. This is an amount that makes a lot of sense, and I think that I'm going to be able to find it over the next few years. Bezrat Hashem.
But it's very important to tell their stories. I remember
Yes.
when we had our very first Kristallnacht Memorial in 1997. Wow. Uh, we had it, of course, in a Christian church sanctuary,
Yes.
which was almost like the forbidden territory for Jewish people to go into a Christian church sanctuary in that
Right.
day. And to get Christians and Jews sitting together in the same room was quite a accomplishment that only God could pull off for us. But I remember our dear precious friend Leah Weems of Breast Memory. Leah was our first speaker.
Hmm.
She and her sister Ruth, who's still with us, were hidden children in the Holocaust, and so what happened was it was very stressful putting all that together because it had never been done before. and there were a lot of obstacles. But there were two things. Leah, as she was leaving, said, "Never felt such love in my whole life." Well, that made me feel good, of course, from all the Christians there were
Of
there.
course.
And then on the other side, the Christians said, "We've read about the Holocaust, we've seen movies, but you gave us a human face." That made the difference. It then became personal.
Of
These are re
course.
these are real human beings here that made it personal. And we took about 1,000 of our students, these are adult people, to the Holocaust Museum in Houston over the years.
Wow.
I gave lectures there myself, a Christian minister lecturing at the Holocaust Museum. That's pretty amazing, you know.
Yeah.
And we had our own docent, actually. Ruth's husband, Larry, of blessed memory, was our docent. So we scheduled our tours to make sure Larry was available. And oftentimes we'd have several hundred there in our group.
Wow.
Yeah, so this was very important to Peggy and I. In fact, the Holocaust Educators Committee in Houston uh, blessed Peggy and I with a Holocaust Educators tour in Europe.
Wow.
The two of us went to Europe and toured many of the Nazi death camps there
Yes.
in Germany and Poland and in the Czech Republic. So it was interesting. But Peggy and I may have been the only Christians on the bus, I'm not sure. But when we came back,
Hmm.
the question was, who's going to write a trip report for the Jewish Herald Voice newspaper, right?
Who else?
How did it work out that I was the one they chose to write the trip report? You know, so yeah, I still have it somewhere. It's been a whole lot for me to be able to do that, you know.
Amazing.
So we've invested much of our life in what you're talking about, and
Of
we know
course.
how
Which is
important.
why it was so important for me to talk to you.
Well, I appreciate that. I just know human nature and people's lives, and the more short stories would be better than huge things that
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. This book itself, first of all, it's in very large font.
I see it. I
And
see it.
second of all, it's really the book part of it, the story part, the end is pictures. So the story
Very
part of it
good.
is only, and I've got like a glossary. It's only like 130 pages. My wife finished it in an hour and a half on Shabbat.
So we have a book here called, I don't remember what it's Heroes of the Faith or something. It's stories of Israelis, 15 or 20 people. I don't remember. We have it here, but short stories of Israeli heroes of the founding of the state of Israel. You know, I can see something like that would be very helpful. Short stories that young people in high school could read. You know,
Yeah.
short stories that high schoolers could read. I know that many of our survivors here locally have spoken in high schools all over Houston. It's been a big deal to help the young people know about these things. So it just has to be something that's reader friendly, that's inviting for them to open me up and read me, and they can read in a short period of time. It's just the reality of people's world today. Those are my observations.
This is the Holocaust. Yeah, I see a book about the Holocaust, not about the country, but okay.
I don't know what it's called. I've got it over here somewhere in my library. It doesn't have you in it though, but it was before you were born,
That's
probably.
volume two.
It has people like Hannah Sinish and people like that. I remember one year we were in where were we? Trying to remember down on the Dead Sea, Eilat. We were in Eilat where we were. Peg and I had sent our tour back, and we went down to Eilat to do snorkeling and enjoy, take a little break ourselves, you know. So we were in the bookstore, the bookshop, in a lot, and we were very familiar with the story of Hannah Sinish. People who are watching the program today, if you don't know, please look up Hannah Sinish. We were very familiar with her story. I'd actually seen the movie made about her. And so we were in the bookshop, and there's this book on Hannah Sinish.
Of course.
And I saw it. I said, Peggy, look, here's a book on Hannah Sinish. We were so excited to see that. So the lady working there came over to us and said, "You know Hannah Sinish?" Oh, yes, yes, we know Hannah Sinish. So she has, do all Americans know Hannah Sinish? I'm sorry, they don't. That, you know, but she was excited to find somebody like us who knew Hannah Sinish's story.
Where did this story happen?
I'm sorry.
Where were you? You were in a bookstore? Where was that bookstore?
We were in a lot.
You're in a lot.
Yes, we were in a lot. Yes, in the bookshop, and that's the context of the story.
Wow.
And so the lady got so excited that someone like us, American people, knew the story of Hannah Sinish. And I've written of her story many times in various blogs about her, you know, and her life. So if somebody's watching the program today and don't know her story, I encourage you to click on the computer and find out about her and learn about Hannah Sinish, one of the heroes of Israel.
That's right. Well, thank you very much for that, sir. And thank you for encouraging me with this project about making the summary books also. I'm definitely going to do that as well. And we will see each other hopefully in a month.
Well, we'll be coming up to the fall feast coming up here soon,
That's right.
and coming up with Yom Teruah. We'll take our big shofar off the piano here and go outside and blow it. Maybe you'll hear it way over there in Israel.
Thank you very much.
Okay, God bless. Be encouraged.
Bye bye.